Good Tvach, Shavua Tov, Happy Hanukkah, Freilich Hanukkah. Before we begin, today's learning has been sponsored by the Golner and Stern families. Today's learning is in memory of Baruch David ben Moshe, Burton Golner, whose yard site is today. May the Neshama have an aliyah.
Amen.
Okay, now, this next Mishnah has nothing to do with Yevamos. Nothing to do with Yevamos. It's bringing in different examples. We had already examples before about when you should marry a woman, when you shouldn't marry a woman. It doesn't, you shouldn't marry certain women. It doesn't look good. So here is another example of that. Hamevi get memedinas hayam. If somebody brings a bill of divorce from a distant country. Now, that means like this. The husband is in a distant country. The wife is in Eretz Yisrael. The get was written outside of Eretz Yisrael, and it's being delivered by a shliach, by an agent of the husband. So when a person who brings a person who brings a get means the shliach, the agent of the husband, who is now bringing the bill of divorce to his wife, bringing a bill of divorce to the wife in Eretz Yisrael. V'amar b'fanai nechta b'fanai nechtam. And the agent said, in front of me it was written, and in front of me it was signed. But that means like this. The shliach, the agent, in order to be able to deliver the get to the wife, has to testify. He has to say, I saw the get written in front of me, and the get was signed in front of me. Mm-hmm. Now, why does he have to do this? So he has to do this for two possible reasons. And I'm going to read it to you here from the bottom in the notes. This is either because some courts outside of the land of Israel were unaware that a get has to be written lishma, specifically for the woman who is being divorced with it. That's a halacha. The get has to be written for that woman. If that woman's name is Rachel, and you happen to have a get written up before that has the name Rachel in it, all the names fit. All the names would fit, but it wasn't written specifically for her. It's not good. And there was a concern that those who were arranging the gittin, the divorces, those who were writing the documents outside of Eretz Yisrael were not learned enough, and they didn't know this. So therefore, the person has to say, and this goes for the writing of the get itself. It goes for every get has witnesses that sign to the bottom of it. To have witnesses signing to the bottom of it. All that has to be done for this specific woman. We had a concern that was not being done outside of Eretz Yisrael. And therefore, the shliach, the agent, says, it was all done in front of me, and I'm letting you know it was done properly. It was done lishma. Another issue that's brought up in the Gemara in Gittin as to why the person has to say this is the following. We are concerned that the agent is going to, let's say, deliver the divorce. She's going to get married with it, and the ex-husband is going to show up and say it was a forgery. It's not true. Now, in order to deal with such a situation, if somebody comes and claims about a document it's a forgery, then what you have to do is you have to establish. Now, if you're saying it's a forgery, that means that the witnesses who signed were forged. So what you need to do then is either get those witnesses to come and say, no, we signed it, or get someone to say that they recognize that this is their signature. They recognize this is these people's signature. Now, if a get comes from outside of the country, was prepared outside from a distant country, now it's delivered in Eretz Yisrael, delivered in Israel, where are you going to find the witnesses to be able to come and establish the validity of what they did? And therefore, that is part of the job of the agent. He says, I was there. I saw it being signed. It's legit. So this is a very important testimony, basically, of what this agent has to do in order to be able to deliver this bill of divorce to this woman, and that it should be accepted. So now, if you are that shliach, if you're that agent who delivered it and said, b'fanei nechtam, and you testified, I saw it, lo yisas ishta, you cannot marry that woman. You cannot marry that woman, because that will make people talk and make people think that the only reason you said that was that you can marry her.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, if you do that, you may not marry that woman. Doesn't say anything here about if you did taking her away. Doesn't say anything about that. Even though the Mishnah before mentioned cases that even though you married, she has to leave. You don't. You take her away. You don't take her away. No mention of that here. Very interesting. All right. Next case. You come and you testify in the Beis Din. Now, this is something we're going to get more into later on in this Masechta, but there is a halacha that even though typically you need 2 witnesses for things, if one witness comes and testifies that a woman's husband died, one witness, it's accepted. Accepted. So now, the witness comes and says, Mace, he died. Or now, when you hear the next case is just hold on, okay? Just hold on. Haraktiv, I killed him. He comes to Beis Din to say, this woman's not married anymore. You know why? I killed her husband. Or haragnu. Or he says, we, meaning I wasn't the only one. There's a group of us. Lo yises ishta, you may not marry that man's wife. Now, in the case of Mace, okay, in all the cases, right, believe it or not, according to the Tanna Kama, according to this opinion, we accept what he says to permit this woman to get married. Well, I'll elaborate on that a little bit soon. But let's just take the case of Mace, right? The case that we're most, comfortable with. You say that the person died, right? Now you want to go marry that woman. Again, doesn't look good. People are going to say the only reason you said it is because you wanted to marry her. Mm-hmm. And in all the other cases where at the end of the day, we are believing her to say that we're leaving this person to say that she may remarry, you can't be the one to do that.
Can't do it.
Rabbi Yehuda says, haraktiv, in the case where the guy says, I killed him, that person's wife may not get married. Forget about you not marrying her. No one can marry her. Why? Because if you say that you killed the guy, you just establish yourself as a Russia. You establish yourself as a halachic wicked man. Wicked people can't testify about anything. If a person falls into the category of a Russia, they are pasal edus. They're invalid to testify. Rabbi Yehuda says that in the case where you say you killed him, she can't get married. Haragnu. But when you say that we killed him, tinasi ishtar, then his wife could get married. Why? Because in that case where we say haragnu, we take his words to mean. I'm reading to you here from the art scroll. We take his words here to mean that he was with the people who killed him, but didn't actually kill him. Follow that? Meaning, in that statement doesn't mean that you did the murder. It means you were there. You're kind of part of it. You're accomplice in it in some way. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he actually did the killing. Now, we still have to explain that it seems like Rabbi Yehuda, now, believe it, now, to answer your question, Larry, the law is not like Rabbi Yehuda. When the person says, I killed him, she can get married. You just can't marry her, but she can get married. Why? He admitted that he killed the guy. So the answer is like this. The answer is, I'm going to read to you again here from the bottom. The first Tana holds that even if he says, I killed him, the woman may marry others, because the court accepts his testimony that the husband is dead, but does not accept that he is the murderer, since a person's testimony about himself that he is a Rosh is not valid. Just as a person may not testify about his relatives, may not testify about himself. You're related to yourself no different than to your brother. Mm-hmm. So therefore, the point is like this. This guy comes and says, I killed him. There's 2 parts of his testimony. There's what he's saying about himself, to establish himself as a person who cannot be a witness anymore. And he's also freeing that woman. So we say, regarding the aspect that from your testimony that the man's dead, we accept that. We'll accept that. Now, how can we accept it? Aren't you a Russia? The answer is, we only know you're a Russia because you said so. And you cannot testify about yourself. So therefore, what you say about yourself, we don't accept. About the fact that he's dead, that we do accept. And therefore, she may remarry, but not to you. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't look good. You're putting yourself in suspicion that the reason you said it was in order to marry her.
Was simple. The logic. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back to the Chofetz Chaim. Okay. So he just started in the first halacha. He said to tell someone about the fact that you that he didn't do a favor for someone and for yourself. That is not something you'd be allowed to tell others. Okay. Now, we have mentioned a number of things that actually can change according to the context, according to the situation. Based on the situation, it could change whether what you said is Lashon Hara or not. So, for instance, if you said it, if it's possible that you have said it for a constructive purpose, it's not Lashon Hara. If you said it not for a constructive purpose, even if it accomplished that, it's still Lashon Hara. Mm-hmm. So now he says, says the Chofetz Chaim, the next examples I'm going to talk about are examples that there is no possibility of them being okay to say. Okay, certain things there's no purpose in it. Mm-hmm. And it's something common that people stumble in. Most people stumble in this. Most people say this Lashon Hara, this kind of Lashon Hara. But you know why? Because they don't necessarily realize what they are saying is forbidden. Don't wonder, like, why am I going into all these details about this? This is all these examples are elementary. Because by elaborating on it, I hope that it will now bring attention and understanding and knowledge regarding these matters. Okay, so let's just start the next example. It is forbidden to shame a person or to deride a person for chesaron shleimas hamaylos because he's lacking certain qualities, certain positive, called positive qualities. Hein b'chachma, hein b'gvura, hein b'oisha v'cholai gavna. Whether it be wisdom, strength, wealth. Okay? This is something, now again, this is something he's saying, again, all right, he's saying that these are going to be examples where people stumble a lot. It's examples where people should not be saying what they say, and it's regarding a certain lack of qualities, whether it be wisdom, strength, or wealth. Those are going to be his three examples. When you speak Lashon Hara, when you speak derisively about a person regarding qualities such as these, he says these are the kinds of things that people stumble in a lot. They speak Lashon Hara about, and it's something you have to be aware that there is very little room to be able to say that there is a purpose in it. Okay, well, we'll go through and we'll see. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, so your three countries who